sending in those requests 0701984984. Seeing so many of y'all checking in and saying your good mornings. This is from one person here called Morris. You did enjoy the reggae jams that we were playing a bit earlier. Keep the love coming. But even as you keep the love coming, how about we show you just how much we love you by bringing you new information? And you know, we keep saying in Africa, if there's something that we love, is guests. And a home that has guests every so often is a blessed home. And well, here on 984 in the morning, Chiko and Fellaris, we do have ourselves a guest in studio, and that is Lorenzio Bettini, who is the lead underwriter, aviation, drones, and classic cars. Quite the title, and we'll be getting into exactly why Lorenzio is with us here in studio. But first things first, good morning.
Good morning, Fellaris. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. You look quite like the morning person. Are you a morning person or an evening guy?
I try to be. I think I'm a hybrid, actually, to be honest. But a first cup of coffee and a brilliant view like I got this morning out of Nairobi gets you up quite a bit earlier.
So I would love to think that, you know, for this particular day you're operating as a morning person. Very excited to have you here at Capital. Is this your first time in Nairobi?
So it is actually not, but we can count it as the first one, because the last time I was here was about 20 years ago.
20?
And I must tell you, it's changed. So yes, first time.
What's the one thing that you've seen right now that's just gotten you so excited? You're like, wow, the difference 20 years can make.
So first of all, the infrastructure. Flying in, we came in from the northern side. The buildings, everything that's just being developed, how busy the roads are, first of all. The traffic, I take my hats off to all the locals here. Honestly, I feel safer just sitting in the back, because I know I wouldn't have the patience to be able to drive a car here on the roads.
You wouldn't be the driver on Nairobi roads. What's your home country?
South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban?
Johannesburg.
Yes. Was it? I'm trying to draw. I've only been to Johannesburg once, and don't quite remember sitting in traffic. I was just there as a tourist, but we keep saying tourist experiences are very different from those of the locals. So good to have you here, and greetings to all the people who are tuned in, by the way, from Johannesburg. Hopefully there's some. www.capitalfm.co.ke/listen live is how you get to listen to us, whether you make it to the office, you're not in the car, you can always carry us with you, because we also have an app, Capital FM app. Stream us from there as you just get to enjoy this lovely conversation we are having with Lorenzio Bettini, who, like I said, is an underwriter for aviation, drones, and classic cars at I2 Special Risks. Now, sometime back, we had Wayne, who's seated somewhere here in studio, and we were having a chat about I2 East Africa, and just looking at the insurance space and how much it's diversified, and all of these special accommodations when it comes to insurance. And I was like in class, because Wayne was telling me things. I'm like, what do you mean you have ransom insurance? And now we're here talking about aviation. So what brings you to Kenya this week?
So, as you said there, I'm from I2 Special Risks. So, specialist risk underwriters based in Johannesburg. That's exactly where I'm also from. And just to touch on the quick comment there on the traffic in Johannesburg, I must tell you, our tourism's quite the smart sector, because first of all, they hide the traffic away from you. It's still a burden for us to get to the office and back every morning, believe me. But yes, yeah, so Fellaris, I'm visiting Nairobi this week on an aviation trip, basically, to come and scout out the aviation industry in Kenya, and also for drones. That's what I specialize in Johannesburg. As you mentioned, lead underwriter, so basically everything we do is from our head office in Johannesburg, and what we normally try to do as much as possible is try and get in country, so we can experience the field, experience the industry, what it's operating like. So that's the reason for the trip, actually.
And you must have then a wealth of information as to, you know, what the aviation space looks like here in Kenya, East Africa. Kenya is a hub. And of course, it's opened itself up to being a regional hub, not only for East Africa, but also just for the continent. But from your assessment, where are we currently, and what basically is the opportunity that you see within the aviation space?
So I must tell you honestly, when you say that Kenya is the hub, completely agreed. Kenya connects I thought it was just Eastern Africa, but what I've experienced in the past few days, just the dealings with brokers and things as such, and industry players in this area, Kenya actually connects the continent. And to be honest, I think, being a pilot myself also, I am
Oh.
envious of aircraft flying in Kenya because I would love to experience the scenery and the sights with all the parks and things like that. So that is absolutely incredible. And to be honest, when it comes to commercial charter operations, definitely a lot of potential, which is already shown by Kenya. But just what I've heard now with Somalia also coming back into the game in the aviation space, with South Sudan also, it's incredible how everyone relies on Kenya and the
Yeah.
backing from Kenya. First of all, your repairers that you've got in at Wilson Airport, some of the world-class standard repairers there, so that gives a lot of confidence for any pilot or aircraft owner in your country.
Correct.
And then also just the tourism. I mean, it's easy to say we're flying with the 737 or we're flying commercially or whatever, but it's the smaller aircraft that get us to the smaller locations, to those niche lodges and things like that.
Yeah.
That also thrives on tourism.
I'm happy that you took us on that because didn't know you are a pilot.
Yes.
When's the last time you flew?
Oh, Fellaris, probably about a year ago.
Ah,
Yes, yeah.
so private pilot, or can you fly commercial?
Private pilot.
Ah, private.
So one thing I was taught at a young age, don't turn your passion into a job. But I can tell you, even my job in the insurance industry is my passion and I'm still enjoying it. But,
And you're still within that space where,
100%.
it's very interesting how people pivot and just take up things that they're passionate about. Now, be an underwriter within the aviation space, you're a pilot, so I couldn't think of anyone better to have this conversation with. Now, you mentioned small size aircraft
Yes.
and just how there's a very big space for those, and in comes the conversation on drones. And every time we hear the word drones, we just think war. We have a very, I would say, we don't have much information as to what drones are, what they do, why we need to have them, who are the drone operators, what are the opportunities there. So maybe take us to school a little bit. What is this term that we keep referring to, drones?
It's actually fascinating because, to be honest with you, before I joined I2, I also thought, if you look at a drone, it's your smaller drone, normally recreational. You pick it up and then you take pictures of your house or of
Yeah.
weddings or whatever, social gatherings and things. And so our expert underwriter, Kopano Tolo, he focuses on our drones. He's our drone expert at I2. Met him for the first time, obviously, when I started overseeing the drones product. Now, he took me to a lot of site visits. To be honest with you, Fellaris, you have never seen drones on the scale that they're operating on in Africa right now. It is the size, well, I know that the listeners can't see it, but it is the size of the studio sometimes, to be honest.
What?
And these are all working in the agricultural sector, they're working in the mining sectors. And
I've
things.
even seen some in the medical space where
Yes.
you get to dispatch medicines to remote areas. So we're seeing a very good use of drones on that. Let's carry on.
100%. So, to be honest, you've still got your private one, which is
Yeah.
just your photography and filming, basically. But the commercial ones, that's where you boost on your agricultural sector. That's where you boost on your security and anti-poaching also. I think to make it more relevant to your country, I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated by the amount of national parks. As you interviewed Wayne, Wayne is an avid photographer, especially on the wildlife space. So we've had a lot of conversation in the past 48 hours regarding the wildlife in Kenya. And the one thing that comes up is that there's a lot of anti-poaching activity, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But remember also, if you think about this now, if anything comes up and flares up, there's a poacher in a park or anything as such, what do you normally do? You dispatch a game ranger.
Correct.
Normally it can result in violence or something. Something can occur.
Yeah.
Now the nice thing about a drone is, if you look at the technology on them, thermal scanners, LiDAR scanners, they can send up a drone and pinpoint exactly where the threat is in the national park before sending out any person or ranger, which makes it a lot safer if
Yeah.
you think about that, the operation itself.
Yeah. And I see how that would also be considered a bit risky when it comes to security, because then these are flying objects and they could be running surveillance on with no permits, with no permissions. So squarely within Kenya, what have you observed as one, the uptake of the use of drones and also the regulation of the same? Because again, you're operating within the space.
Yes, yeah. So, good question actually. So one thing we always pride ourselves in South Africa, now bringing it back to our country, is that our regulator governs drone law very strictly. The one thing about Kenya is it's the same practice that's adopted here. So for us as an insurer, the confidence we have in your regulator, the Kenyan Civil Aviation Authority, is exactly similar to what we have in our country. You abide by the same laws, you have the same regulations and things. So first of all, it's safeguard to us as insurer, but it also safeguards you as an operator.
Yeah.
If you look at the I might say that there was a new implementation for border security patrol now with drones also, if I'm not mistaken. But that just shows how technology is evolving now. At one point you have K9 units patrolling fences or borders and things like that, whereas now you've got a control room, you've got 4 gents, 4 ladies, whoever in there operating drones, and they're literally flying up and down 24/7, safeguarding Kenyan borders.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
Is the uptake, are we at the place where we can actually say maybe Kenya is leading in terms of uptake of the use of drones? Is there any other country in Africa that, what does that, what would the ranking look like right now in terms of taking up of using drones for surveillance, security, and every other thing?
So I would say if we look at Kenya on the security and reconnaissance space and anti-poaching measures, definitely up top there in my opinion, definitely. On the agricultural side, which I think will also boom in the next year or so in Kenya, we as South Africa hold more in the agricultural space, but I also think it's because you just had your new flying academy launched now at Drone Nectar, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
at Wilson Airport. So that's the start of everything. I mean, that's where you take young individuals, they aspire to be pilots or drone pilots now. Remember, it's a very steady job too. So now they're going to be learning how to fly these drones, and then the adaptation comes in from not just security and reconnaissance and surveillance, but we can use it for crop spraying. We can use it for various other uses, as you said, medical supplies and things.
Yeah.
Look, medical supplies are still a bit risky in my opinion because we are still flying there in the same corridor, in the same airspace.
Yeah.
But I really love the idea, especially in countries where you can't necessarily access certain areas. So
It's, I'm trying to set the scene here for how now I2 comes into this space and what kind of covers are under I2 insurance as far as aviation goes. We've spoken to the likes of KQCEO in terms of really what are the aviation gaps that we're seeing not only as a national carrier. We've been looking at, say, what's happening in Ethiopia with Ethiopian Airlines and them being leading in that space. But I think now what we keep missing out on is the insurance component, which is what I'd want us to get into at some point, because again, to preach the gospel of what I2 insurance is doing, which is very different, and take it up, how would I say, changing with or adapting to where the world is right now. I was trying to find the right words. So back to security, we did see something coming from Interior Principal Secretary, that's the PS, Dr. Raymond Omolo, who announced a modernized border security strategy. And the use of drones is, of course, central component to this strategy, which aims to mitigate threats and the rise of other, our porous borders, if it's on the Ethiopia side, Somali side, while protecting Kenyans within the country. Now, we live in a latent threat of terrorism. There's a thing that, we'll always talk about, and I think it's only getting worse. The more people move and the more we allow people to access different parts of this country. Now, as an insurance provider, how does I2 insure for such risks in Kenya? Because then here it's kind of, how would I say, the risk aspect is so high. So how does I2 insurance cover this?
Okay, so it's actually a very fair question. I mean, we can touch on 2 aspects. So first of all, the drone insurance cover. Our I2 drones product basically covers the drone for its hull, the hull itself, the aircraft. So whether it be accidental damage or intentional damage. So quite ironic, one of our sections in our I2 insurance policy is actually noted as the war risk option. So when you refer to anything that's, let's say, terrorism or there's any commotion or anything as such, there's actually a war portion on your policy that covers you for intentional damage to your aircraft.
Oh, wow.
Which is phenomenal. It's actually adopted from maritime insurance, where war comes in. And then also to touch on the actual political violence and terrorism threat that we also experience, I2 actually holds a product also, a PVT product, which it stands for political violence and terrorism. And as you mentioned, we're in country. You've seen Wayne also, and we love being in country with our broker partners and experiencing the industry, or can I say the infrastructure and things.
Yeah.
So we actually have our PVT underwriters coming up in the next 2 weeks, to be honest, to also come and scope out the scene here, try and learn from the brokers, what's the environment like, how should we adopt different practices, because what we apply on I2 policies in South Africa doesn't necessarily apply to Kenya. So for us it's always good learnings.
I have so many questions, especially when it comes to the pricing of this, because the last conversation we had with Wayne was, okay, how do we determine what the average pricing would be for someone who's just looking to take up insurance to cover either their aircraft or their drone? Is it customized? Because then the customization aspect comes in, because then different needs, different operational areas. Is that something that also translates to the aviation aspect under I2?
Yes.
What you
100%.
underwrite?
Yeah.
Customizable. What's the website that anyone who's interested in listening to this conversation, what website do they need to visit now?
So you can go to i2.co.za. So that's www.i2.co.za. You'll see that we have all our products noted there also. So we specialize in just over 25 specialist products now. So, and as you also mentioned, from the coolest products, if I may put it that way, kidnap and ransom, to my baby, also aviation and drones. So, and classic cars, art. It's absolutely fun.
I'm going through the website right now, and one of the things that always stands out for me every time I come onto this website is the fact that it starts by saying clever insurance for clever people. So you ought to be a clever person, and if you consider yourself clever, make your way to i2.co.za, and once you're there, you'll be able to see all the different products that are offered under I2. And today, of course, the conversation is really around aviation and drones and all of those things that we find so technical when you think about, but we have the expert in the house to have a chat with us. Now, looking at the website, I'm seeing cyber insurance, looking at things to do with commercial cyber, kidnap and ransom, medical malpractice, which is some of the conversations that we had with Wayne last time, and just, if this could load, art, aviation, which we're having a chat about, classic cars. Allow me to just ask a very random question about classic cars. This is, of course, on the very luxury side of things.
Yes, it is, yeah.
It is.
The collectible side.
The collectible side.
100%.
Would we then say the aviation, because when I'm looking at all the products under I2, I'm seeing a very niche angle to the offerings and the products. For the aviation side, is it limited to that, or is it also open to commercial operators, and not so much like, say, people who are running like niche businesses within the aviation space?
So also a good question again. So our policy on aviation, we focus on private individuals and also commercial operators. So, and it actually comes back to your question on how do we underwrite it. So that's what we basically do. At I2, we sit down, we've got our specialist underwriters, and that's what we specialize in. So on your question, what happens to whichever aircraft and how do we rate it? So it is fully customizable. What basically happens is we evaluate the risk. So we look at the aircraft type, we look at the pilot also, what's the experience like, those types of things, and also which countries they're flying in. The other thing we also look out for is the uses, because there's a clear difference between someone that's flying from Wilson to JKIA as a quick hop, or someone that's actually dropping skydivers out of the sky. So
yeah. So we have to bear that in mind.
100%, yes.
So it's again depending on the use, depending on, is there a limit? Are there things that you actually say no to as an underwriter? You're like, yeah, we are not willing to cover this.
So how we adopted from our market, basically, we've always been wary of flight schools, just because it's the aspect of someone coming into the flight school, learning to fly, also training and things like that. So the one thing we always do is we encourage the country that we visit to enlighten us, give us some idea, give us some knowledge, some background on it. So I've actually got a meeting at Wilson Airport now where I would like to go meet Joan Nectar and also scope out some flight schools that you have here, because the environment differs. It's all about who's flying, who's the instructor, what's the experience like and things. So in all honesty, right now I'm not really capped on any uses, but we do rate according to the high risk uses also. Yes.
So there's again, the TNCs apply.
Oh,
as
100%.
Absolutely fantastic. Stick around, because we'll be back to continue having this chat with Lorenzio Bettini, who's a lead underwriter, aviation, drones and classic cars at I2 Insurance. Today we are having a conversation on all things aviation, drones, and the future of security, innovation and insurance, not just here in Kenya, but for Africa. For now, we get the headlines, sports, and then get back into this amazing conversation. This is 984 in the morning with me, Fellaris, and Chiko.
Markets move fast. Don't get left behind. The Financial Forecast with Fellaris brings you insights from global to African economies. Tuesday, 6:30 In Capital Newsbeat this hour.
Government announces overseas job recruitment drive in Nairobi and Mombasa. Court defies hearing on Othaya water tariff dispute. And UN pleads for safe passage for civilians trapped in war in Sudan City.
More in Capital Newsbeat.
Capital Sports Update, where sports is taken seriously.
Well, good morning, and more good morning. Man, my headphones are noisy. Yo! Are y'all dealing with that drama? Listen, Harambee Starlets defender Enes Mango says that they will give 100% in this evening's return leg at the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier